Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all in Pakistan Studies course. And in previous lecture, we were actually discussing the chapter Institutional Supremacy. And under this chapter, we were discussing the topic Civil Military Relations in Pakistan. In this lecture, we will actually take a look on the overview in civil military relations and civil military tie in Pakistan. And then we will talk about the reversions of military into civilian or political corridors. And then we will talk about the unreasonable roles of different politicians. Then we will discuss the concept of security threat in the context of military involvement and role of civil supremacy in this context. Then we will talk about the obey and act policy of military and how the military rulers and the community members within this institution respond to this perspective. Then we will talk about the political ambitions of army chief, how this post actually playing its part and how this post has been considered as a political icon. And at the end, we will just sum up by creating a better tie among the institutions so that both institutions can play their best part in the development of the state. So let's overview on civil military tie. Actually, military as an organized institution, which actually we were discussing in previous lecture, that military as an organized institution, as an authority, was evolved during the company Raj in subcontinent, and company rule as well as the royal military was the best and initial platform in the context of development of military as an institution. That was actually the platform which provide the opportunity to the individuals who were associated with this particular institution so that they can flourish and nourish themselves in a better way. All the commitment and dedication based and rules and regulation based issues had been resolved during that particular phase. Then another important thing in this context, we can also elaborate that military as an organized institution was highly associated with the coordination and cooperation mode during the British rule in the subcontinent. Actually, the major reason behind this coordination and cooperation was during their attachment in London Academy, where they were actually organizing and they were in the learning process so that they can serve in a better form in the subcontinent. So that another factor in this context, we can say that military and civil, both supremacies and both institutions were actually working together to resolve the issues of general masses. But after a passage time and gradual changes in the political scenario and the military regime and the leadership of military, both actually we can say that both institutions were developed on the basis of insufficient leadership and you can say that the leadership which was actually highly involved in their personal matters, they actually were the major reason behind the decrease in distance between two institutions. So they must establish an organized pattern to enable an acknowledgement for attaining long-term benefits. So the major purpose of both institutions is to contribute in the state processes and state-based different issues, and they must contribute in the development of states so that they can be the better opportunity, so they can be the better platform for the development of the state. Then coming towards the military reversions into power corridors, Military and institution was very strong. Military as an institution was playing the best option for the safety, security of the individuals living in the territories of the state. But in the context of Pakistan, we can say that the cyclic reversion of army into power corridors actually is the gateway towards their involvement in political scenario in the political regime. They were actually trying to cooperate with the political elite, but on the other hand, political elite tried to involve them in those matters which were not resolving. And in different cases, we had observed that if we historically discuss this concept, we can say that the military was an independent institution, and institution was playing their best part in the defense of the state, but it was political regime who actually for the sake of their own benefits used them to complete their task, and that is why they consider this thing, and they consider the power game, and they understand actually the power game so that they can enter into this regime. And that's why they gradually entered here, and they expand their methodology, and they expand their pattern of serving in the state into different institutions. So we can say that military intervention in political scenario and political activities was actually the power game which enable the military regime to enter here so that they can expand their service. But on the other hand, they actually was depending upon the natural upon the resources of the state, and they were actually labeling that they are playing their part to expand the resources, but on the other hand they were not expanding it. They were actually planning for the future so that they can also acquire some benefits from these institutions and from the state resources. So the military as an institution must focus upon their duty, which was an obligatory task to serve the state in on the borderline, and also present a better image of the state in front of other community members, and also in front of the international community. Then coming towards another context in this form, civilian in the form of politician and the business are the ones who actually engage the political leadership into different contexts, and they were actually trying to convict, and they were trying to convince them so that they can also get some power and also get some benefits. But on the other hand, the civilian opposition was also utilizing this platform, utilizing this institution to exploit the opponents. So when military leadership observed this thing, and they found some back doors and some channels where they can enter into this force and also acquire some benefits, so they started using this platform so that they can increase their power game. So we can say that in the initial level, we can say that both institutions were working side by side, but after passage of time, it was the fault of a political regime that they provide opportunity to the military leadership to enter in the civilian matters. Then coming towards another important thing in this context is the unreasonable role of politicians. Politicians are actually the representatives of individual in the parliament, where they establish some policies for the benefit of the individual, and individuals who elect them also expect from the politician that they must establish those laws, code of conduct, and policies which are facilitating the general masses. But we can observe that in the recent past and the day when the state was emerged, maximum political class is working for their own benefits, and they are actually providing opportunity to get more benefits to their blue-eyed community members. So when any politician enters into this into the parliament, he avoided to work, or he avoided to introduce those policies which are user friendly or community friendly, but they are focusing upon those benefits, of focusing upon those policies which are in long term is boosting their own businesses, their own benefits, their own pay packages, and all other facilities, which are highly associated with their own personality. So that is why politicians are not playing their part in the context of state development, and that is why it is military who consider this as the compulsion to enter in the political issues and political deals. And we can also observe that in different regimes we can observe that, and historically we can also prove this concept, that most of the politicians who are associated with different civilian tasks, and who are the part of different regimes, and they are actually working for the state stability, but on the other hand they are trying to use those policies which are against their opponents, which are actually sidelining their opponents. So that is why they are using military leadership in this context. Then coming toward another thing is that military by nature and training is secretive, and that is why they are working those policies which are related to the national integrity and the sovereignty of state. They always adopt those policies which are secret, and they avoid to share their policies. But on the other hand, we can observe that civilians who are associated with different tasks related to the state policy or state affairs, they never mind to discuss these things openly in front of public masses, or public or general masses, or they can also share while they are interviewing to, or sitting in a political talk on any media house. So they disclose all these policies instead of secreting these issues. The civil government, when in power, still keeps looking over their shoulder to see the body language of the senior army command. What they do, the political leadership is actually using the platform of military to target specific community members, to eliminate those targets which are against their political will, which are against their ideology. So we can observe that actually civil government is providing opportunity to the military leadership, that they can indulge themselves within the state matters instead of outside defending the state. Some of civilian government do not believe in their luck in having the power. That is why they focus upon the shoulders of military. Whenever they attain power, whenever they elect, somehow they start blaming other community members, that they actually mislead the election commission, and they actually forged the election results. So that is why the concept of dhandli culture is evolving day by day in our society, and that is why the political party who is in power, whenever got better results, is unable to accept it on the basis of their luck, because they do not believe. Why they do not believe? Because they are not actually giving their input in the state development and those policies which are user friendly. So that is why their role is unreasonable, and that is why the politicians are the major cause to be a major cause behind the military intervention. Then coming toward the security threats, security stability is the major reason. That is why major actually agenda on which individuals tend to join the institution of state. They actually join the institution of state because they consider state as the symbol of security, safety, and for the fulfillment of their fundamental needs. So that is why individuals used to join this institution. But on the other hand, when they consider that state is not providing them shelter, security, and safety, then definitely they will consider the state system as the outdated one, and they avoid to be part of the political structure and the setup of state, and they also avoid to pay the taxes. Why? Because the state is not paying them back in the facilitating manner. So state who is on the basis of national interest is also encouraging the some groups for the sake of their own interest, or for the sake of national interest. But somehow these elements, these non-state actors, are becoming the hurdle in the context of implementing law and order, and also they are threat to the security and safety of the individual. So these elements are actually creating an unrest situation in the state. So concept of security threat is the major issue which state is facing day by day. But after a passage of time, when military was involved in this fact, they actually tried to eliminate the concept of terrorism, whether it belonged to the religious diversity, whether it belonged to sectarian violence, whether it belonged to any religious extremism or fundamentalism. Then they definitely indulge themselves to defend the state and to eliminate the security threats from the state boundaries, so that the people of the state can spend their life in a peaceful manner. So whenever we observe the concept of policies, whenever the military involved in this concept, the military always makes policies and affects the civilian affairs behind the doors. The meetings of intelligence agencies and high level interaction of core commanders are platform where decisions made, but they used to secret these decisions, and they also avoid to disclose these issues in front of the political regime. Why? Because they do the military leadership do not believe in political leadership, and they think they actually considering this thing, that the political class will disclose these things publicly, and that is threat to the existence of the state. Then coming towards another important fact in this context is that decisions which are related to the foreign matters, especially if we talk about those issues which are emerging and evolving and increasing actually through the gradual process day by day, are related to the foreign affairs, these issues are actually Kashmir issue, Pak-India relations, Pak-Afghanistan policy, and the Pak-US relations. So when we observe these things, we can observe and we can trace the facts from different newspapers that the military regime is highly involved in these issues, and military is tackling these issues, and they are actually communicating with the leadership of other states, and they are focusing upon the concept that military will tackle those issues, and military will also focus upon those concepts which are related to these issues. And no leadership, whether it is international leadership or any other leadership, they always want to communicate or dialogue with the military leadership in this regard. So, when the civilian are actually neglected in this context, they used to avoid to participate in the political in the foreign office, and for that purpose, whenever they actually neglect the role of military, then definitely they will not be given the chance to discuss these concepts on international platforms. So a role of military in the foreign office is increasing day by day, because the leadership or other heads of the state are actually giving importance to the military leadership, and they are considering them very brave one, as well as they consider them as the most trustworthy. That is why they are actually focusing upon them. And in this context, political leadership definitely depends upon military, and they cannot deny their existence and their role in this context. Then terrorism within the state or outside of the state is also leaving impact. They are the terrorism concept is actually eliminating and the different issues and increasing different issues in the state. And international terrorism and national terrorism both are actively destroying the economy of the state, and also destabilizing the state community members. So that is why military as an active agent and playing its best part in this context, and military is also playing their part to eliminate such issues from the state, so that the people of the state who are depending upon the state policies and are the active taxpayers, so they can be benefited in a better way. So another important thing in this context is obey and act policy of the military. It is actually the actually the concept which is describing the compact form of military, where we can found that the how much the institution is organized, how much the community members related to the military force are actually depending upon each other, and they are giving leverage to all the community members. So obey and act policy is basically defining the general policy of the military, where juniors are giving importance to the senior officials, and everyone is coordinating with each other and cooperating with each other when they are in the defense mode, whether they are in any sort of situation. They definitely follow their rules, they follow their policy. Any illegal activity, they, whenever you impose any policy, whether it is in the context of transportation, whether it is in the context of rule or any disaster situation, you will observe that the military leadership is more vigilant in this regard, and they are compelling their personals to follow the SOPs or footstep of their leadership, so that nobody can raise finger on their existence, on their role. So you will see that they are actually following their own constitution, they are following their own rules and set of rules and regulations. You will never find them you will never find them participation in any illegal activity. So obey and act policy of military is so much strong, and they are actually using this thing in the institutionalization of their state, institutionalization of and centralization of actually the institution. So you will find a perfect hierarchy of officers and armed institutions in the context of obey and act policy. When you will you if you will observe the CMH, or if you observe the military cantonments, you will find a hierarchy of officers in this regard. And that is why that institution, from the soldier to the chief of army staff, they will follow the same rules and regulations, so that they can contribute in inside the state and outside the state. Then another important thing in the context of increasing the level of distance and the stress among between the political regime and the military leadership is the lose of popular support by the politicians. Politicians who are actually also the part of civilian government, and they are playing their role in the development of the state. They are actually working for the establishment of the constitution, implementation of the constitution, but somehow they are losing their support for popular support, because people are not having faith in them, and they are rejecting them because people who are associated with the political institution, they are focusing upon their personal interest and they are neglecting the national interest. That is why they are somehow using the resources of the state for their own benefits, and in this context people are not considering them as their as their representative. So that is why they are trying to get rid from them, because they politicians are actually blessing their community members, and they are issuing grants to those who are the blessed one, who are the most appropriate or uh, most suitable to them. So that is why the politicians are losing their support, losing their trust from the community members. So that is why it is necessary for the military to interact with community members and listen their issues, so that they can address their issues. And these issues are not actually related to the social context or religious context, but these issues are also associated with the political one. So that is why we can observe different high officials on the political post, where we can have different names in the context of important ministries, where we can find only the military persons who are leading these institutions. You can give the example of internal affairs, you can give the example of chief secretary of province Punjab, you can give the example of interior ministry, you can give the example of chairman WAPTA, you can give the example of chairman of PTV. That is why we can say that most of the institutions are under the military command. Why? Because people are having faith in the military leadership. They consider this institution as the most organized one and most compact one, and because they are feeling that this is the only institution who is following some rules, regulations and code of conduct, and they will not use their money in any personal interest, although people who are associated with the public opinion concept, or who are understanding the democracy, they are actually focusing upon the political supremacy. But on the other hand, they also want that political regime must be eliminated, because they are not using the proper resources to contribute in the state affairs. But on the other hand, a political regime is also playing their part in the development of their own hierarchy. So that is why military involvement cannot be neglected. Then coming toward the political ambitions of army chief, army chief is actually a post which had been politically established in different time spans. Although the army chief is fulfilling the criteria, when we can observe his tenure, we can observe his services, we can observe his bravery, dedication, commitment towards the institution. But on the other hand, we can also trace that there are some issues in the appointment of army chief, because the state is actually giving importance to this post. When we had observed different demerit based issues, and we observed the class difference based issues in the context of appointment of army chief. Army chief is actually the representing and the most influential rank of the country. So that is why everyone is considering this post as the charming one, and everyone want to be the army chief of the state. So when we observe this concept and when we deeply discuss this thing, then we would be able to know that army chief is appointed by the a board, and board is led by prime minister of the state and foreign ministry of the state. Then we can say that army chief in the is appointed on the consent of political leadership. That is why civilian losing hope among all the institutions, because they also doubt that a political class is bringing those community members as an army chief who are somehow flexible in the political ambitions. Then military as an last hope behind every development is another important element which can be which can be discussed under the condition of political ambitions. Why? Because military is uh, military is actually getting more support from the general masses, because general masses are considering this institution the more organized one, and they are also thinking that whenever we spend money in any army or institution, or whenever we spend money in a project which is led by army, then definitely our wealth will not be wasted, and they as an institution will return the fruits in this regard. So military has been considered the most respectable institution of the state, and the community members of the state are also giving importance to this institution. But in the context of political ambition of army chief, whenever you appoint the army chief, then definitely you are focusing upon that person who is more suitable to you, more he is more accommodating, who is more in the mode of cooperation. Then definitely you are focusing upon this concept that army chief is army chief as a symbol, or as an institution, or as an individual is in your favor, and he is using his resources for the betterment of not only state but also to draw a better picture of you. So political ambition of army chief is increasing day by day, because we had observed that many politicians are blaming that post is most influential, and both army chief and DG intelligence are actually actively participating in the development of the state, and both are working together by discussing matters with each other. But on the other hand, we can find that the army chief is the most influential person and most influential citizen of the state. So that is why everyone is giving importance to that particular post. But if you are thinking this thing, then that how this heading, or how this concept is included in the, and why this concept is included in the civil military tie, then he is actually the commander of force, and he can play his role to decrease the distances between the political regime and the military leadership. Then coming towards the conclusion that civilian and military leadership both are actively working in the development of the state, and both are actually focusing upon this concept that our services, our contribution is beyond any tribute and reward. Why? Because there are some people and community members who are associated with armed forces, but they got no record whenever they are part of the different wings of the military, and those wings are actually military intelligence and secret service and other actually regiments who are actively participating in war zone. So the role of military in the defense is more powerful, is more authoritative, but we cannot neglect the importance of political regime. Why? Because they are actually governing the state. They are more attached to the civilian community members. So when we are considering this concept, when we are admiring this fact that both are dependent on each other, and both can consult each other for whenever they are contributing in the state affairs, so they must contribute and they must consult each other And by consultation, we can say that we are reducing the distance between the civil and military leadership, and both can actively play their role in the betterment of the state whenever they are whenever they are internalization, when they are centralizing their institutions, and they are communicating with their subordinates that they must focus upon the development of the state, instead of considering their institution as a state within state concept. Because if they will consider this concept, or they will give leverage to this concept, or they will give the importance to this concept, then definitely on that day, from that day, they will start working against the existence of the state, because they are not considering the importance of state. They are actually considering the institution more important than the state. So political regime and the military regime can tie their knot by eliminating illegal forces, and they must avoid to exploit individual for their own benefits, so that the state can be developed and state can be presented in a positive gesture, in a positive way, in front of international community. So considering this concept, or considering this idea, we can say that political class and military class both must focus upon a single agenda, which is that initially, actually, political class must focus upon the representation of general masses we can say that general masses in parliament. Why? Because general masses are considering them as their sole authority and also the savior of the state, and they also electing them for the sake of their own benefits. But on the other hand, political class is providing opportunity to military leadership that they can indulge themselves in that particular role. Although they had been informed that whenever they are taking oath in when entering in the military academy, they also loudly say a sentence that I will never be the part of any political activity. So they must actually keep their promise and avoid to indulge themselves in political matters. And it is the responsibility of political class that they must communicate with their institution. They must organize their institution. They must establish some code of conduct for the institution, and politician must focus upon the positivity instead of following the negative elements of their mind. But their contribution cannot be neglected. So if you have any question or confusion in this concept or in this topic, you can ask me through Google Meet. You can ask me or contact me through WhatsApp. And till next lecture, take good care of yourself. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.